are David and Trish of DnT TV at the Bakersfield swap meet, Bakersfield, California. Have it every spring, and it's pre-World War II. Cars, trucks, memorabilia, clothing. We're out here to show you a little bit of what's here while we look at stuff every year, and every single time we've come here, always picked up something, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we have picked up a radiator, which was pretty rare. It was for a Kissel. We found some Kissel emblems. We found hubcaps and books.
We've also found a motometer one year.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
This year, happened to find stuff for 39 gram. Needed a new distributor cap, got one here. And there's just all kinds of things, and amazing things that you wouldn't normally think you'd find. Some of the interesting stuff this year, we've even found a 1920 page Glenbrook Touring that somebody's selling. A lot of work to do, but pretty interesting car. But there's a whole lot of things here, and put together a video and let you see it.
And the weather is beautiful. It's sunny. It was a little bit cooler this morning, and they have been predicting rain, but probably not till later this evening. So let's take a look around and have a little fun.
Well, here we have one of the interesting cars that Trish liked to shoot. It was a Rio. I think it's a 1906. And it's one of the cars that somebody just brought to drive around. It wasn't actually for sale. Yep, 1906. There were a lot of cars at this particular swap meet that were just driven, as well as those for sale. Here you can see a number of items that are for sale. At various booths, everything from something that looks totally junk to something that's totally restored. Often they put the nicer things in little glass cases. And you can see any number of things. For example, Packard front end right there. A lot of brass era parts at this swap meet. Everything from horns to obviously headlights, running lights, etc. Here's another one that Trish really liked. Wasn't for sale, just a nice red car. Maybe she likes red cars. Now this is a Speedster somebody made out of Model T. And obviously it was never like that in the day, but somebody's having a lot of fun with a very old car. Can you imagine riding that? No seat belts. Wow. Like the monocle windshield. And here you can see a lot of body parts. There are a tremendous number of T or A parts, but they're actually body parts for other cars too. A lot of Buicks, saw Maxwells, various other makes. So there's a lot of things here at the swap meet that you wouldn't otherwise find. And there's one of your swap meet goers with a wagon, getting a lot of things that are appropriate for his project. Oh, you can even get a bomb. Obviously not real. And there's lots of things. I mean, there's also going to see toys and clothes and hats and cameras. Oh, there you see, you could get a Lincoln. And that car was essentially complete. Number of people come with, for example, a camper to stay overnight, because it's a 2-day swap meet. And it was actually good weather this year. Oh, chasing him off. Maybe he wants too many things to buy. But we've been here when it's really rained a lot. But no, the rain was in the evening this year. And you see a number of toys and collectibles. Picking up a few small items myself there at this little spot. Now this is Tom Van Meteren. He was there with all kinds of ignition, etc. parts. And you see written on his trailer are various names of old-fashioned and as current parts that you might be able to get from him manufacturers. And he can look about anything up and probably has it. I actually got something for my 1939 Gram from him. This is a LaSalle, It was actually for sale. Just beautiful. At least as far as looks, it's great. Who knows if it ran well, but it certainly was pretty. And we took a little time to look at it seriously. You can see that the owner put a bunch of information on the windshield if you wanted to talk to him about it and possibly purchase the car. Actually has a very nice interior, you'll see in just a moment too. Aesthetically, there wasn't much you would do to this car. And it shows you what the, quotes, junior Cadillac would look like. Yes, LaSalle was a separate make. Not too bad for the time. I don't think you'd have felt insulted to have that car. Another couple guys pulling a wagon, figuring out what they want to buy. Now there's a Model T you could have picked up. That was for sale. Kept nicely under the top. Guess they were figuring out a lot of weather. We really didn't have that. Oh, and look, you can get any number of lenses at this spot. Bunch of brass. Oh, look at the hubcaps here. You actually have a Pierce Arrow and a Case, for example. Also a Buick and a Packard. Routinely at this particular swap meet, we found things for Kissel. So it really does have some of the more interesting items showing up at it. A lot more collectible items. You can find a lot of literature too. Hadn't mentioned that previously. Oh, now here is the page. And this particular page is a Glenbrook Touring, which is a very rare car. Page Detroit was once a fairly good sized medium price manufacturer. Page being the name they sold under, later became Graham Page, and eventually, of course, Graham. This car was pretty much complete, very rough. Instrumentation, hubcaps missing, but the actual body and complete running gear was here, including the Page built engine, because a Glenbrook Touring actually has a Page engine and not a engine by, for example, Continental. So it makes for a very interesting car. The other thing that's interesting when you see the front is it has a V'd honeycomb radiator. Very different. Page at the time built their cars, the most beautiful cars in America. Oh, here you have another Rio. Now we've seen this Rio in past years. It was not for sale, but for this year, they put it for sale. So looking to find a new home for the Rio. Rio's pretty nice. I wonder if you get the stuffed animals with it. Gotta have the stuffed animals. No stuffed animals, no deal. And I think this one's very interesting because the radiator design has it sort of bending forward on the top as a peak. It's kind of different. See, look at that right there. Rather brightly colored. Oh, this is interesting because it's a comparison between a Model T and a Model A Roadster pickup. Obviously, the Model T is already done. The Model A is not finished, but it kind of gives the idea of how much more substantial a Model A is than a Model T. Oh, told you Trish liked that car. Back at it again. She just thinks it's really something. I think it's the red, like I told you. A number of the cars like this, people actually were driving around occasionally during the day. Now this is one of the most interesting things that was there. Here you have a Model T depot hack, 1950. So you could qualify for the Horseless Carriage Club as well as have something very different from everybody else. And certainly different from the average Model T. And you look at the price, just $6,700. And so much work is already done. Oh heck, if you want a Model T, you might as well have this than try to build one. A very, very interesting vehicle. and the work that had been done on them, pretty nice. And believe it or not, for those who don't know, depot hacks were real. Little inns, motels, technically hotels at the time, would use them to bring people from the depot over to their facility. Here we have a Buick and another for sale car. You can see right there, 48.5. Gotta call Doug. And his phone number's there if he didn't sell it. And here's a guy looking at it. I think he looks like he ought to take it home. He just looks like he'd look good in that vehicle. Even has the non-skid tire on this side. Yeah, it was very, very nice. Fully restored car. Ready to drive wherever you want to. Isn't it interesting to look when we don't have a dashboard like we're used to, but you have a real dashboard with nothing mounted in an instrument panel. And that's where they get the term dashboard, because they use the board to keep the horse from throwing stuff up to the riders. So when they build cars, they put a board up. Same thing. Here we have a Maxwell. Small, very interesting. And if I remember, I think it's a 2-cylinder. Yeah, just a 2-cylinder. It's a very small engine. But at one time, Maxwell was extremely popular as a car manufacturer. In fact, it was often number 3, number 4 during the teens. And contrary to everybody hearing Jack Benny pick on Maxwells, they really were once a big deal. Now here we have a car that actually runs, and it was something an older gentleman brought here. You'll see him in the background in a minute. And everything he's done to it, it looks like So Rube Goldberg or Hayseed, but everything actually works. There he is in the background. He's quite a talkative guy. He'll tell you everything you ever wanted to know about it. Plus, he tried to tell me how to drive a Model T. Now, I've driven a lot of old cars, never a Model T. Sounds like it's interesting. A little bit more work than normal. Like I said, he would tell you anything about this vehicle. Where he got this, that, the other thing. He ran it several times a day. Quite loud. No muffler. But he likes to take it to places and get all the conversation he can get out of people. I think he likes to be the center of attention. Now here's a guy that does something real interesting. Prior to 1916, particularly 1913 and earlier, you had to make your own license plate. The state would license you. They didn't give you a license plate. They give you a number. And it was your job to make a license plate. So people made them out of leather and put their numbers on the leather plates. So this gentleman at leatherplates.com makes brand new license plates that are leather with the appropriate numbers. So if you've got a car 1916 or earlier, particularly in 1913 or earlier, depending on the state, go see them. Here we have a Stanley steamer. They had just driven it, just parked it, and I love steam cars just because they're so different. And it's really kind of interesting to think of the fact that the car is basically wood and you have a fire in it that's on the outside, and so you're on fire and driving the car. Internal combustion is one thing, but this is not internal. And they're extremely fast, but you run out of oomph when you run out of steam, and you got to kind of sit on the side of the road and build some more steam up and go. But they certainly are interesting. Nothing like driving a gasoline car is normally, even though they use gasoline to do the firing. Very beautiful car too. And because this swap meet caters to so many old cars, you have everything from electrics to gasoline to steam powered.
Well, here we are, David and Trish of DnT. Now let's do it again.
You can do that again.
Well, I'll say it again. It's not recording. It's not recording.
Yeah, it is. 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5. Evening. So let's take a look around and have a little fun.
Alrighty.